All right, so today we're talking personal budget. And in personal budget, we are going to um, talk about like how we create budgets, how we will calculate budgets, and this has to deal with percentages. So, personal budget. So, here at the top of your notes, a personal budget, again, we're not talking. A personal budget is a way of organizing your income and your expenses. Oops, sorry. Dang it. Okay, it's better. So, again, our personal budget is a way of organizing your income and your expenses. So, budgets can span a variety of time periods through a monthly budget, even though a monthly budget is the most common way to budget. A lot of people like to just have a monthly budget, and you can even ask your parents which way they prefer to budget um, for you to be able to, like, see the difference. So, here we're going to decide what is income and what is expense. So, because for the sake of looking at this, we're going to just talk about what is the income. When you look here, can you tell me which ones are the income? So, which ones are the income? No, that won't be our income. Income is the money that you bring in. Yes. Salary. So, this is one of your incomes. And then your other income will be wages. No. So, the incomes are where you're bringing money in, where money is coming to you instead of you spending money out. So, those are going to be the income, your salary and your wages. Everything else is counted as an expense. Why? Because you're spending money or setting money aside. So it's taking money away from your regular income or your regular money coming in. So if it's not coming into you, we want to count that as an expense. Has anyone seen Vicky? Okay. Again, all of that's not necessary. All right. So here we go. So on here, we're going to write expenses even for savings, because even though you're saving money, it's really still an expense because you're sitting the money aside and you're not going to have it counted as your income money. So I'm just going to use E for everything else because these are all of your expenses. So your income tax, when you pay taxes on your money, that's an expense. Paying your utilities like your lights, gas, loans, rent or mortgage, food. You pay for food, that's an expense. Your emergency savings is an expense, and entertainment, like going to the movies, paying for like all of the like Netflix and stuff, those are expenses. Oftentimes, budgets are categorized and the percentage of the total budget is calculated. So when we're calculating our budget, we will go back to using part over whole, percent over 100, or part will equal percent times the whole as a decimal. So even as we're calculating, you're going to see that we're going to use this both ways. Thank you for stop making the tapping sound. Thank you. So here in our first example, the Donaldson's family budget, their monthly income is $3,200. What percent is their housing and utilities and food? So when we look at their housing and food, we need to find out what is the percentages of each one of them, and we can get a total amount of their percent. So remember, when we're finding percent, we have to identify what's our part, our whole, and we're then trying to get our percent over 100. So this is taking us back to what we know. Part over whole is percent over 100. So when we look at the housing, whatever their whole income is, which is how much they get is their monthly income, this is our whole. So this is the whole. So when I set up my proportion, I'm going to put their income here at the bottom, $3,200. So when I look at how much they pay out to each item, housing and utilities and food, these are counted as our parts. So if I'm going to calculate for housing and expenses, I'm going to put 1,440 at the top here because I'm going to do housing and utilities first. And I'm looking for the percentage. So that's my X over 100. And we do exactly what we've been doing, is cross multiply and divide to get to our answer. So when I do that, I'm then saying 3,200x is equal to 1440 times 100. So I'm just going to write 1440, and then I'm going to add 2 more zeros, because that's how I would say a number is being multiplied by 100. You just add 2 additional zeros. Now I'm going to divide both sides by the 3,200 so that I can get the x by itself. But we understand that whenever they end in 0, I can cross out those extra zeros. So this is gone. So I know I'm x equal. So those zeros are gone, and then these zeros are gone. So I'm really saying 32 going into 144. Well, 1,440. So when I look at that, so I'm saying 32 is going into 1440. 32 cannot go into 1, 4, but it can go into 144. So we need to figure out how many times that happens. So I know it's 4 times because I can say 32 times 4. That's 4 times 2, that's 8. 4 times, that's 12. So that's 128. So I'm going to say 4 times because that's 128. And when I go to subtract, it's 3, it's 14, 8. So that's 6. And the 12 is 3. So that's 16. So now I'm at 160. 32 can go into 160. I want to say 5 times, but let's check. That's 0 carried to 1. That's 15, 16. So 5 times. So X here is 45%. So I'm going to write my 45% here. And again, if you need extra scratch paper, you're always free to get that from the front or even in the back. So that one took a little bit of math, but guess what? We now know that this amount is 45% of their income, their monthly income. So now we need to do the same thing when we're talking about their food. And you can honestly just do that at the bottom because there's extra space down here. So let's go ahead and do that for the bottom. Could someone walk us through how we're going to do this one? So what goes over here as our part in our whole? What will go here for our part in our whole? What will be our whole? Because again, we're still talking about the Donaldsons. Yes, 3,200. What will be our part this time? So look at the table. What is our part? $300.20. So 320 is our part. We are looking for the percentage. So now let's go ahead and calculate it. So that's 3,200x times, I'm going to write the 320, and then I'm going to add the other 2 zeros, all because, again, I know that when I'm multiplying by 100, I can just add those 2 zeros to the number. So now I'm going to divide by 3,200. So when I do that, remember, I can go through and eliminate the extra zeros. So now this is a little easier. How many times does 32 go into 32? Well, 10 will be the answer, but 1. And then 32 can go into 0 times. So our percentage is 10%. So here we're going to write 10%. So the question said, what percent is their housing, utilities, and food? So I can add these two up, and what should I get? What is their total percentage? So 55% of their income just goes to housing, utilities, and food. That's a lot of their money just for the basic necessities. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Again, it's nothing new, something we've been doing before with finding part, whole, and percentages. But now let's talk about minimum household budgets. See, your minimum household budget includes the expense that are necessary to meet your family's needs. This minimum household budget varies based on the number of people in your house and your family that lives with you. So when I look here at this budget, because this here's our example, we need to find out what is the monthly total. So this is their monthly expenses. So to find the total, what do I need to do with all these numbers? Add them on up. So when we go to add up all of these numbers, we're going to get our total, which is $3,650. So this is their total. This is their total here. Amount of all of their expenses that they spend. Because what we're trying to find out is how much money do this family need to be able to live. So this is their total, their monthly total. So $3,650 is how much they spend on rent, food, transportation, utilities, expenses, and their taxes. So what do you think I need to do to find out what their annual salary is or their annual amount? What can I do to find that? So if I know how much the monthly is, what does annual mean? Yearly. So how many months are in a year? 12. So we're going to jump right here because whenever we're talking budget, we use the letter B. So we're going to say to find their annual salary, we're going to say B equals 3,650 times 12. So can we go ahead, calculate that, and you guys are going to tell me what your salary is. Go ahead and calculate it. I'm going to calculate it off screen, and then we'll see who's right. You are the calculator, so do the math. Do we have an answer? You have one? I see 2 people with their hand. Let's wait on a few more. 3, 4. We just need like 2 more, and then we're going to go ahead and shout it out. Okay. 1 more. We're waiting on 1 more hand. Okay. Okay. So count of 3. Shout out what you got. 1, 2, 3. I heard 43,700, 43,800. That's what we got, 800? Yes, that's correct. 43,800. It's okay. That's why we shouted it out, because sometimes we got to check our numbers. 43,800. Again, it's not about that. So that is what their annual salary. That means this is the minimum amount of money they need to just survive. So this is the minimum. That means really they need to decide, I need to make more than 43,800 a year just so my family can always make it and not be living check by check. That's what minimum household budget is talking about. Is like, what is the bare minimum? So think about how many times in our families and even yourselves This gives you the mindset to think about, really, how much is it going to cost me to live so I don't accept anything less than that? That's a good question for you to just meditate on. Even adults need to think on that, because sometimes we work for less and realize why we can't make it. We've never made the minimum household budget. Yes. No. All right. So now let's move to the next page in just a moment. This is your practice. It's only 4 questions for practice. The first question, you see they give you a whole. This is your whole, and you need to calculate what is the amount. So if they give me my percentage, what does that mean I'm looking for? They give me a whole. This is my percentage. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for the part. So you're searching for the part for all 3 on number 1. The next one, they give you the whole again, and they ask you to say which table is what is true about the table. So you will go through each one and see which one really is the correct percentage amount. Then if you turn it over, the last question is asking you about the family budgets. So you're going to do what we just did with the minimum budget. And then this question is, again, you're finding out the budget. So please go ahead and get started. This is what we're doing today. This is your practice. After you get started,